Our main character, Toka, is a young man whose childhood was shadowed by misery. After losing his father, his mother remarried a man who unleashed daily torment beatings and cruel words that bruised more than just his skin. Yet his mother sat by glued to the television, silent and unmoved. The stepfather's laughter, cold and satisfied, echoed through the house, a haunting sound that dragged Toka back to a grim reality he desperately wished to escape. In Toka's class, there's a boy named Sogo, notorious for a vulgar, mocking laugh, uncannily like his stepfather's. Sogo's mischievous schemes to snag the class president's phone number push boundaries without a hint of remorse. Cowards shrink away, and even the other students and homeroom teacher turn a blind eye. Watching this, Toka thinks if he stood up to Sogo, that would be truly badass. But Toka knows he's just background noise in this story. His courage might count for nothing. Still, when Sogo's antics go too far, Toka demands he return the class president's book. Sogo sneers, calling him a loser who has no right to speak up. Facing a brat like Sogo makes Toka sweat with fear, his heart pounding like a drum. Sogo even ropes in Takuto, a muscular classmate, to rough Toka up. Takuto, though, isn't one for fights. He tells Sogo do whatever you want to. Toka, but you must give back the book to the class president. Sogo, a street punk at heart, still fears Takuto's silent strength, so begrudgingly hands over the book and slinks back to his seat, face twisted in bitter defeat. With no one left to bully Sogo, turns his venom toward Yasuo, a socially withdrawn classmate. This time, the homeroom teacher steps in, sensing the danger of Yasuo spiraling into dark thoughts. Just then, the world around the school bus shifts. A mystical chant fills the air, pulling all the students into a realm unknown. Confused and disoriented, the group listens as a goddess emerges, welcoming them as heroes summoned to another world. She reveals that whenever their realm faces the threat of a demon king, she calls forth champions from other worlds to fight. 2 centuries ago, these heroes defeated the demon king, but now the Dark Lord has risen again, and she needs their strength once more. The students, bewildered, can't grasp a word of the goddess's tale. All they want is to get back on their bus, not stick around for her tall tales. However, the goddess's allure is undeniable. Even the lecherous teacher falls under her spell, urging the class to settle down and listen carefully. Toka, thinking, this must be a dream, pinches his cheek, and the sharp sting confirms it's all too real. They've been summoned to this strange world to help the goddess defeat the demon king. She warns that refusal will trap them here forever. The goddess knows a ritual that can send them home, but to perform it, they must obtain the demon king's heart or destroy him and absorb his dark power. Sogo bristles at this, declaring the demon king has nothing to do with him. The goddess then theatrically falls to her knees, begging for their help to save the world. The class president, skeptical, points out that these ordinary students couldn't possibly match the demon king. The goddess assures them that upon summoning, each has been granted great power. To prove it, she calls on her minions to demonstrate, ushering the group into a destiny none could have imagined. The goddess summoned a prisoner alongside a savage demon beast, which lunged fiercely, tearing the prisoner apart in an instant. The goddess then unleashed a blazing fireball, reducing the beast to dust. This terrifying display sent shivers through the fragile hearts of many female students, some even longing for the safety of home. Yet bound by the goddess's command, they had no choice but to obey. She produced a mystical orb to assess each student's power. Through it, she glimpsed their true strengths. Sogo revealed a formidable power that delighted the goddess, filling him with pride as he boasted about purging the entire other world. When it was Takuto's turn, the orb shattered from his overwhelming force. The goddess ranked him at the highest tier S-class. Not only Takuto, but class president Ayaka also broke the orb with her power. After the evaluations, the goddess was thrilled to find 3 S-class heroes in the class, her most successful summoning yet. Then came Toka's turn. The orb glowed faint purple, weak and unimpressive. The goddess dismissed him without a second thought and called the next student forward. Toka, who felt invisible even in the real world, now realized he was just a background character in this bizarre realm. Lost in these harsh thoughts, the goddess's minions suddenly announced a shocking revelation. It turned out Yasuo was blessed with the power of the dark hero, the strongest of all. A dangerous smile crept across Yasuo's face. He sensed his moment had finally arrived. After all assessments, the goddess demonstrated how to check their statuses. Sure enough, Toka was a lowly E-rank warrior. His stats were pitiful, barely scraping the bottom of the barrel. Yet Toka possessed unique skills like paralysis and poison curses. The goddess then announced an important ritual calling Toka forward to deliver grim news he ranked lowest among the warriors. Historically, E-rank warriors were obstacles to the stronger ones. Their presence was a burden that had to be eliminated immediately. Panic surged through Toka's heart, fearing execution. But the goddess coldly explained that killing him on the spot would shock the others. Instead, she would teleport him to a labyrinthine ruin. If Toka survived the ruins, he would earn freedom. But the place was a monster-infested wasteland, a death sentence reserved for criminals and dangerous warriors. Hastily, Toka tried to defend his special skills, but the goddess dismissed them as useless flaws with low hit rates and short durations. She labelled his abilities worthless, mere errors in the grand scheme. Furious Toka resented being summoned only to be discarded like trash. Even Takuto advised him to accept the ritual so everyone else could return home sooner. At that moment, Yasuo clapped Toka's shoulder. Toka thought Yasuo was offering support after all he had always stood by Yasuo during bullying, but Yasuo treated him like worthless garbage, now bluntly telling him to survive whatever little time he had left. Then, the goddess initiated the teleportation ritual, hurling a special warrior's leather pouch to Toka. This pouch could be activated by magic to aid him. Witnessing Toka's peril, Ayaka exploded in fury, demanding the goddess release him immediately. He was their classmate after all. The goddess, enraged, struck Ayaka unconscious, without a word warning the class to watch what would become of the lowest warrior. With no other choice, Toka gambled casting paralysis on the goddess. But protected by an impenetrable shield, her magic nullified his spell. Seeing this, Takuto shot a fireball that grazed the goddess, revealing he could affect her. He apologized, claiming it was just a test. The elite students wished Toka would vanish from their sight. Only the Takao sisters considered the others heartless brats and left early indifferent. Meanwhile, Toka seethed over the injustices he'd endured. During his torment, a darker personality within him awoke, urging him to stop suppressing his true self. That other self demanded vengeance, a lesson for the cruel souls. So Toka cursed the goddess and vowed to survive and return. Upon arriving in the ruins, he infused magic into the pouch, transforming it into a guiding light. The first sight greeted him skeletons of victims slain by monsters lurking unseen. Suddenly, a beast swung its claws and Toka fled desperately. The ruins teemed with high-level monsters as the goddess warned. Though the light attracted foes, turning it off meant plunging into darkness. After running, Toka tripped over a stone, falling flat. But the feeling gripping him wasn't fear, it was burning hatred for the goddess and his classmates. Though weak and weaponless, he must fight to one day exact revenge. He cast paralysis, freezing the monster in place. Unexpectedly, his skill worked on this high-level creature. The goddess's claim that his magic was useless rang hollow. Now this was no luck. Yet after repeated use, his magic drained to a single point. Then a bird-like monster appeared, its killing intent chilling the air. Sweat poured, but Toka's will to survive refused surrender. He paralyzed the beast twice in a row. No coincidence, but proof his skills were legit. The goddess's words were lies. But with magic nearly gone, Toka gambled his last point to unleash a poison curse. This time it hit true, confirming his powers could affect any monster. Toka continued to weave his paralyzing magic, freezing the creature not once, but twice. 2 successful attempts. This was no stroke of luck. It was a skill, a deadly art he had honed. The goddess's boast, pure nonsense. Yet after such relentless casting, his mana dwindled to a single point, and with that last flicker of power, Toka decided to cast his final venomous spell on the beast. The poison hit its mark, confirming Toka's belief his skill worked on any monster, anywhere. But with his mana drained, he was uncertain what toll the next use would take on his body. Just then, the monster from before re-emerged. The paralysis wore off, time had run out, and it lunged toward Toka, ready to tear him apart. Overwhelmed by despair, Toka's mind spiraled back to the cruel goddess, the unruly classmates, and the torment inflicted by his stepfather. Rage boiled within him. He wasn't a hero, nor some destined protagonist. He was a mere extra crushed beneath the boots of the privileged, but Toka believed survival meant rising up, crushing everything in his path. Thus began his brutal fight for existence in this strange new world. This time he tried using his internal mana to cast paralysis, but the system warned no spamming the same skill on one target. Switching tactics, he cast Sleep, pinning the monster in place. Then came the poison spell, again slowly draining its life. But tapping into internal mana rapidly sapped his stamina. To make matters worse, the ruins monsters swarmed him, tightening the noose and sending waves of dread crashing over Toka, unsure how to take them all down at once. Toka watched as they charged together, forced to keep casting paralysis spells non-stop. His inner mana was on the brink of depletion. Exhaustion clawed at him, threatening to drag him into unconsciousness. And still the monsters kept flooding forward like a relentless tide. The situation was 1,000-pound weight hanging by a thread, but Toka refused to accept the fate of a mere background character. He pushed through casting paralysis until his body was utterly spent. After these relentless efforts, he could no longer stand, but at that critical moment, his level shot up, restoring his mana. From then on, Toka could cast spells continuously, without fearing depletion. It turned out that the bird that had died earlier was the victim of the poison curse. Toka gained a flood of experience points, skyrocketing his level. His skill set also evolved to a higher tier, now able to paralyze multiple enemies at once. Before long, the relic monsters stood frozen in place. Toka realized his skills were ineffective only against the goddess herself. The relic monsters were still vulnerable, every strike landing true. He began using poison curses to slowly finish them off. To Toka, these relic monsters were no longer threats, but mere experience points waiting to be claimed. Checking his status, Toka saw he had reached level 258 with a massive mana pool. Still, he had to guard his mana carefully. If it dropped to 0, his life would be over. One by one, the monsters fell, and his level continued to climb. Meanwhile, Toka upgraded his sleep spell skill. Though much stronger now, he showed no signs of arrogance. Many powerful monsters still lurked in the ruins, and escape was his priority. At this point, the relic monsters turned fearful and fled. Toka picked up a discarded cloak to keep warm, never forgetting to honor those who had perished here. After walking a while, hunger gnawed at him. He longed for some beef to fill his empty stomach. Sadly, only monster corpses lay around. Deciding to see if any were edible, he found their skin so tough it couldn't be cut with his sword. So, Toka plucked out one of their eyes and gave it a chew. Instantly, he realized their bodies were filled with acid impossible to swallow. In desperation, Toka remembered the pouch the goddess had thrown to him. He channeled mana into the pouch to see what would happen. To his surprise, the pouch reacted in a way he never expected. Once more, he was handed a pack of dried beef and a bottle of Coca-Cola. Instantly, Toka grasped the bottle, drinking eagerly, with pure delight. Though the workings of that mysterious bag remained unclear, he knew one thing: he had to fill his stomach first. After days roaming the ruins, battling countless monsters, Toka had grown far stronger. These foes no longer drained his strength. Yet beneath that power, a flicker of kindness still lingered within him. Toka never wished to kill recklessly. His past was marred by hardship, his stepfather's cruelty, his mother's cold indifference. But fate showed mercy when his aunt and uncle opened their arms, welcoming him into a new family. Thanks to them, Toka first felt the warmth of human kindness, sparking a dream in his heart to become a righteous soul, to rescue unlucky children like himself. But the harsh world twisted that dream. Now, Toka steals lives without hesitation, haunted by the fear of his own terrifying power. He had no choice but to embrace cruelty. Only by becoming ruthless could he survive this brutal realm. After wiping out the latest wave of monsters, Toka bowed respectfully to those the beasts had slain. Deeper into the ruins, new monsters awaited, less dangerous, yet chilling whispers ran down his spine. Soon, Toka discovered a secret chamber. With a surge of magic unlocking the door, he entered to find a couple who had perished from hunger. Even in death, their hands remained clasped tightly, a haunting symbol of love that stirred deep admiration in Toka. Searching their belongings, he found precious gems, treasures he respectfully claimed, sensing their importance. Next came a chamber that drained much of Toka's magic to open. Inside lay another skeleton once thought discarded by the goddess, but a letter revealed this was Angelin, the legendary sage and fiercest dark warrior, much like the cursed Yasuo. Angelin had been exiled by the goddess for defiance, and now guarded priceless relics he risked everything to claim. If Toka sought escape from the ruins, the sage promised to entrust him with these secrets. Reading the letter. Toka's hatred for the goddess deepened her cruelty, rivaled that of a demon lord. Among Angelin's possessions was a forbidden encyclopedia of dark arts filled with recipes for potions, magic tools, and a spell scroll in an unknown language. Toka sensed these spells held immense power, the ace up his sleeve to take down the wicked goddess. With permission, he took the tome to study. The sage also warned of a monster, the Soul Eater that had slain all his comrades. Along the path, Toka encountered many skeletons, proof of this beast's deadly threat. Vigilant, he pressed on until a door leading to the surface appeared. Yet, it required an item Toka did not possess. He guessed that only by defeating the Soul Eater nearby could he claim this key. Toka's resolve faltered. Even the greatest warrior, Angelin, had failed to slay this monster. But in recent days, Toka's strength had surged. Hope flickered that he could triumph. Suddenly, a massive face emerged from the shadows, the very Soul Eater Angelin had warned about. Before Toka could cast his paralysis spell, a beam of energy struck, wounding him lightly. Toka realized that stepping into the open meant instant death. He had no chance to attack. Spellcasting required time to chant and close distance, both impossible now. He considered retreating to train to evolve his skills. But even that was futile. His abilities wouldn't activate in time. Meanwhile, the monster smashed through walls closing in. There was no escape. A deadly battle was inevitable. Outside, a beautiful young woman passed by the ruins. Chased by pursuers, she decided to hide here briefly. Inside, Toka faced his nightmare. The monster spewed a strange fluid that summoned ghostly figures, the dead of the ruins, recreating their terrified faces in their final moments. It was clear the beast savoured witnessing Toka's fear before devouring him. With the creature closing in, its horrifying cries forced Toka to cover his ears. Desperate, he cast paralysis on the human-shaped puppets, but stopped short of using poison magic. Though lifeless, they bore the semblance of people. Toka could not bring himself to unleash cruelty on them. Fear gnawed at his composure, shaking him to the core. The monster, delighted by Toka's terror, conjured more apparitions to torment him. Toka realized it fed on despair, a predator, savoring the agony of its prey. Frantically, he waved the ghosts away, pleading silently for help. Tears welled as he cried out, hoping anyone would hear. The creature, satisfied with its plaything's desperation, approached to finish the kill. But Toka had been waiting for this moment. With a sudden burst, he unleashed paralysis on the monster's head. His left hand stayed ready, poised to strike again. The fearful expression was a ruse. His weakness was a mask hiding fierce cunning. Toka knew the arrogance of such supreme beasts was their downfall. For years he'd played the coward's part, erased from memory. But here within these ruins, he reclaimed his true self. No matter how many phantoms the monster summoned, Toka would show no mercy. He believed only cruelty could defeat cruelty. Mocking the Soul Eater, Toka taunted it on how it must feel to be felled by a mere weakling like him in a single blow. Then, with venomous magic, he delivered the final strike. The beast's level surged to tier BA after his attack. The monster grinned wickedly, conjuring more creatures to intimidate Toka. He realized it feasted on his despair, that cruel hallmark of the elite devouring their prey. Meanwhile, Toka frantically waved his hands, begging the horde to stay back his fear. So raw it spilled into tears like a frightened child calling for rescue. Desperation clawed at him as he cried out for help, hoping some unseen force might answer. The monster, tired of this game, advanced to devour him. But Toka had been waiting for this moment, ready to unleash paralysis upon its head. His left hand stayed poised, magical energy coiled and waiting, while his terrified expression played the perfect act, baiting the beast into careless arrogance. That was just an act to make the monster overconfident, because you know the fatal flaw of the elite's arrogance that blinds them to others. For years, Toka had to play the role of a coward and nobody. But since arriving here, he's reclaimed his true self. No matter how many monsters appear, he shows no mercy, because Toka believes only cruelty can defeat cruelty. Then, with a smirk, he taunts the soul-eating fiend, asking how it feels to be taken down in a single move by someone like him. Without hesitation, Toka seals the monster's fate with a poison spell, and with that strike, its level rises to rank BA. Finally, Toka uses a lullaby spell to ease the pain of the fallen souls. When the monster is wiped out, their spirits are freed and they praise Toka's strength, defeating so many powerful beasts. Among them is the great sage Anglin, who entrusts Toka with the goddess, hoping one day he'll give her a good beating. With those words, the great sage and the others bid farewell and vanish. Toka vows to make that goddess taste true suffering. He then takes the monster's eye and places it on the door. As the door swings open, he leaves the ruins behind to embark on a journey in search of greater power. Meanwhile, young Sogo struggles to slay monsters one by one. Because the beasts in the forest are weak, he only gains a few levels. Even Takuto, after days of farming with fire magic, barely reaches level 18. Yasuo, on the other hand, just tortures monsters without caring about leveling up. Over here, the girl, Tobacco, shows fear and hesitation, unwilling to kill monsters, and a classmate named Asagi. Sogo was struggling painstakingly, wiping out monster after monster. Since the creatures in this forest were weak, he only gained a few levels. Even Takuto, after days of farming with fire magic, barely reached level 18. Yasuo, on the other hand, was too busy tormenting monsters to bother leveling up. Meanwhile, the girl Tobacco remained timid, afraid to slay any monsters, and a classmate named Asagi approached Tobacco, urging her to join a new group she had formed. According to Asagi, the whole class was just a bunch of reckless kids destined to tear each other apart. Only by banding together could they survive this brutal world. If Tobacco refused, the girls promised to isolate her completely. Fearful Tobacco reluctantly agreed, but before joining Asagi, demanded she personally kill a monster Asagi had brought along. The creature looked more like a pet, and Tobacco's heart hesitated to strike. Yet Asagi twisted the knife, warning that refusal would mean being cast out by the goddess, just like Toka. Trapped by fear, Tobacco ended the monster's life and became part of Asagi's group. But grief soon overwhelmed her memories of Toka's kindness, flooding back how he once saved a wounded cat, stirring deep emotions. Now, to take down a monster herself, it felt unbearable. Meanwhile, Ayaka stirred awake after days in a coma. Her stomach still throbbed painfully from the goddess's brutal punch. Yet she didn't worry for herself. Her first thought was whether Toka was still alive. When she confronted the goddess, the deity feigned tears, expressing sorrow for Toka's fate, but claimed helplessness, bound by the kingdom's harsh laws. In fact, this cruel system was designed to purge the weak among the warriors. The goddess revealed that while Ayaka slept, the class had gone out to farm monsters for experience. But some couldn't even raise their swords to fight, and soon they too would be eliminated just like Toka. Ayaka's heart burned with outrage. She could never accept such merciless judgment. Yet she understood her own worth as an S-rank warrior, a precious asset to the land. Determined, she offered to take on the burden for the lower-ranked fighters so none would be cast aside. The goddess, impressed by Ayaka's thoughtful resolve, promised to consider her proposal. At the same time, the deity sought to make peace by grabbing Ayaka's hand after landing a punch, though Ayaka remained wary. The goddess's touch was icy cold, devoid of any warmth or compassion. Meanwhile, the girl named Sarat was desperately fleeing pursuers. Having barely entered the ruins, she was hot on their heels, forced to sprint through the shadowy forest in hopes of shaking them off. Sarat's hunters were 4 vile, holy guards assigned to eliminate her. Yet their true target was far more sinister. They shamelessly leered at her, some even eager to claim her for themselves the moment she was caught. Back with Toka, he checked his status after escaping the ruins. He was now at level 1, 789, wielding an immense reservoir of magical power. His skills had evolved too, granting him control over their effects, like paralysis and poison. But to be absolutely certain, continued in next subtitle, Toka set out to find some kind of monster in the forest to test his skills. Beyond that, he dreamed of crafting a weapon, a sword to fight with purpose and control. No sooner had he stepped into the woods than he spotted a group of slimes bullying one of their own. That isolated slime struck a chord deep within Toka, its plight mirroring his own, almost like looking into a cracked mirror of himself. Despite being outnumbered, that slime dared to stand up and fight back, clinging desperately to survival. But alone, it was no match for the whole gang. so Toka stepped in to help. First, he cast a paralysis spell laced with poison, freezing the bullies in place. Then, he tested his magic, confirming that now he could adjust the strength, or even remove his spells with ease. With newfound control, Toka lifted the paralysis and sent the bullies packing, leaving only the victimized slime behind. He wanted to say a few words to it, praising the little fighter's resilience, a spark that lifted his own spirits. Hoping it wouldn't snap and attack him like a cornered beast, he released the paralysis spell and prepared to say goodbye. But to his surprise, the slime followed him, refusing to be left behind. Though Toka couldn't understand its words, he sensed its loneliness, the outcast cast away by its own kind without a place to call home. Elsewhere, Surat gasped for breath, having run a long distance, but the hunter's presence lingered, their shadows refusing to fade. Meanwhile, Toka had taken the slime under his wing, naming it Piggy Maru, enlisting it as a comrade to watch his back. In the sage's tome, he discovered a formula to empower slimes, hoping to make Piggy stronger. Before setting off, he told Piggy that this journey served his quest for vengeance. If fear gripped it, the door home was open. But Piggy's resolve was unshaken. With that, they moved forward together. Meanwhile, Surat was being hotly pursued by 4 guards. Unable to shake them off, she made a stand, summoning the sacred attire of her spirit tribe. A traditional fan dance followed a ritual of summoning, and in moments she was battle-ready, poised to face her relentless foes. As the guards chased her through the forest, fate brought them face to face with Toka. The guards sneered at the seemingly timid boy, mocking him as a dirty runt. They decided to make a meal of him, eager to snatch anything valuable on his person. Without hesitation, they pressed on, relentless in their pursuit of Surat, leaving no room for mercy. Amid this chaos, the leader of the guards grew uncontrollably agitated, his lust and rage twisting into a maddened frenzy, desperate to capture Surat for his own dark desires. Seeing this, Toka knew these enemies were beyond reason, so he feigned weakness, begging for mercy, drawing out their cruel delight, their weapons raised, ready to strike. But just as one crept close, Toka unleashed his paralysis spell once more, freezing the entire gang in place. He realized his magic worked equally on monsters and men, except for that mysterious goddess who seemed immune. This meant he had to master forbidden spells fast. For now, he focused on these guards, whom even Piggy called scum, unworthy of life. To Toka, they were no different than the cruel Sogo and Takuto back home. No mercy would be shown. With a poison curse, he finished off all 4 guards on the spot. Yet he knew there was still one more lurking in the forest. Surat, on the other hand, was shocked, sensing the absence of the guards. But now, a presence so terrifying it chilled her and her spirits to the bone. Expecting another enemy behind her, she braced herself, but it was only a slime. Seizing the moment while Surat was distracted, Toka cast paralysis on her, freezing her movements. He understood Surat meant no harm and only wished to talk, but to be safe, he locked her in place. He explained he was lost in the forest, seeking to learn where he was. He asked if the 4 guards were her allies after all he had single-handedly defeated them. Surat was stunned. Those guards were elite protectors, not easily bested. Yet she sensed Toka's honesty. He was truly her savior. Grateful, she promised to answer all his questions. Toka, trusting her, slightly warned that after their talk, he'd leave wanting no further entanglements. Surat agreed, and their conversation began. She revealed this was the southern forest of the Unza kingdom, not the domain of the goddess as Toka had assumed. When he asked about the forbidden magic text, Surat could not translate the ancient script, but she knew of a witch famed as the forbidden sorceress, banished for her vast knowledge of forbidden lore, now dwelling in the perilous Golden Demon Belt. Armed with this vital information, Toka thanked Surat warmly. She wished to repay her debt to him, her savior. Smiling, Toka felt Surat carried a responsibility much like his own aunt's, always looking out for others, even at personal cost. Before parting, he reminded her the paralysis spell would wear off soon, wishing her success on her path. Then, leaving Surat behind, Toka and Piggy Maru resumed their journey. Still wary that Surat might attack once freed, Toka relied on Piggy to watch their backs against surprise threats. Soon, they reached a nearby town called News. Toka disguised himself as a simple country youth seeking work. Hearing the guards mention the local lord was recruiting mercenaries to conquer ancient ruins, they let him pass easily. Was seen as dangerous by the people of this world, ultimately driven from her homeland. Now the Forbidden Witch was in a perilous place called the Golden Demon Belt. After receiving valuable information, Toka expressed deep gratitude to Sarat, who in turn wished to repay Toka even more, because Toka was her lifesaver. Hearing this, Toka smiled, sensing that Sarat carried a responsibility just like his aunt, always kind to others, causing him concern. Finally, Toka warned Sarat that the paralysis spell would wear off in a few minutes, and wished her success on the path ahead. Leaving Sarat behind, Toka set off with Piggy Maru, but remained wary that Sarat might attack once she regained movement. Trusting Piggy Maru, he asked Slim to keep watch behind them for any ambush. Just as they exited the forest, Toka arrived at a nearby town called News. Disguised as a rustic youth, Toka ventured into town seeking work. Hearing the guards mention that the Marquis was recruiting many mercenaries to conquer ruins, they let Toka enter without much scrutiny. First, he sought an inn before exploring the town further. The innkeeper was a stern man, yet Toka needed a long-term stay, so he paid a full silver coin, much to the man's delight. Indeed, no matter the world, people crave money. To hide his identity, Toka chose a new name, Toka. He also asked the innkeeper to buy him some new clothes for a change. That evening, he wandered the town, observing the strong security, which eased his mind somewhat. Despite being a stranger, the townsfolk paid little attention to him. Later, Toka dined at a modest restaurant serving otherworldly cuisine. Though a bit rough, the food tasted surprisingly good. He also sat near a group drinking, eavesdropping on their conversation. They spoke of each nation boasting powerful knight armies, but none more famed than the Black Dragon Knights of Baku's kingdom. Recently, they had destroyed the Holy Kingdom Nia. Among them were two fearsome warriors, known as the Supreme Human and the Bloodthirsty Assassin. After hearing this, Toka took his leftover rice home for Slim and began planning his next moves. His top priority was finding the Forbidden Witch in the Golden Demon Belt. But first, he needed to gather materials to strengthen Piggy Maru's power. The book described a powder made from the bone monster known as the King of Bones. Coincidentally, the King of Bones only appeared in the ruins near Newstown. Earlier, those three had mentioned the Marquis needing someone to conquer those ruins. So the next morning, Toka set out for the ruins alongside other mercenaries. The Marquis promised a new level had appeared filled with treasures. Whoever helped the Marquis find the Dragon-Eye Chalice would be rewarded 300 gold coins. Monster remains could be used freely. But Toka wasn't interested in the chalice, his sole focus was the King of Bones. Soon, all the mercenaries lined up to register for the dungeon run. Among them was a lecherous, blonde-haired man. This scoundrel teased a girl, rambling that she must be Sarat, the knight captain of the holy nation of Nia, claiming he'd seen her beautiful face and those voluptuous curves. The crowd began murmuring Sarat was a female elf captain hunted across the lands, but the girl firmly denied being Sarat. The man, unconvinced, pulled off her hat for all to see. He recoiled in shock. She lacked the pointed elf ears, and her eyes were dark and sunken like a panda's. Nothing like Sarat at all. Mortified, he fled the registration line and went home. Toka recalled this was the same girl he'd met in the forest earlier. Before entering the dungeon, he wanted to buy some gear. Sarat happened to be on the same path, so they talked. Toka warned her to watch out for the blonde man who held some influence. Sarat admitted she was blunt and often angered others on purpose to keep people at a distance. Since Toka was shopping, he asked Sarat for advice, hoping to avoid getting ripped off by the shopkeeper. Of course, he planned to pay for her consultation. Sarat surprisingly grabbed his hand and sealed the deal. When Sarat introduced herself, Toka immediately recognized it as a fake name. But since he was also using an alias, he understood the hardship she faced. She then followed Toka's advice on what gear to buy, earning a silver coin from him for her help. Suddenly, Sarat swayed unsteadily. Toka had to catch her. It turned out Sarat hadn't slept for nights, her eyes dark and sunken. She insisted she was fine, hurriedly saying goodbye and leaving. That evening, Toka returned to the ruins to begin his conquest. As he stepped inside, he spotted some mercenaries being chased and scattered by monsters, but for Toka, these were just tiny shrimp-like monsters, so with only a few swift moves, Toka had already taken them down. Then, he used his sword technique to examine the creature's body. Its skin was surprisingly thin, nothing like the thick hides of the beast he'd faced before. The others, seeing the monster's corpse, were stunned. No one could believe someone defeated it with just a single wound. But Toka's focus was on the Bone King. He pressed deeper into the dungeon, and along the way he crossed paths with a blonde-haired thug and his gang. Turns out this guy was still bitter about Sarat and was plotting to kill her, then feed her to the monsters. However, his two cronies thought Sarat was too shady and wanted to rough her up instead. True to form, wherever Sarat went, trouble seemed to follow her behind. Luckily, Toka overheard their entire plan. He stepped forward, calling them a bunch of society's scum. The blonde thug flew into a rage and rallied his crew to gang up on Toka. Seeing this, Toka quickly raised his hand, saying, "I was wrong. Sorry. Is that better?" But raising his hand was a prelude to casting his paralysis spell, freezing all three thugs in place. As Toka stared at the immobilized trio, memories of his ruthless stepfather and neglectful mother flashed through his mind. This moment of retribution filled him with satisfaction. The blonde thug threatened revenge, but Toka laughed heartily, thinking, "You won't get a chance for that." Then cold and indifferent, Toka walked away, while the three thugs met their grisly fate as monster food, just as they had threatened earlier. After a day of slaying monsters, Toka was nearing the deepest level. Before moving on, he needed rest to regain his strength for the battles ahead. When he awoke and stepped outside, he encountered a band of professional mercenaries. They told him the monsters here were dying in strange ways. Concerned for their comrades, the female captain Lily decided to retreat and invited Toka to join them if he wished. But of course, Toka wasn't ready to leave. He thanked them for their concern and revealed that he had already wiped out those monsters with his skills. In fact, he wanted to scare off the mercenaries to clear the dungeon for himself. Near the next room, Toka found the dragon's eye cup that the Marquis had been craving. Beside it sat a stone dragon, motionless, but clearly guarding the treasure. Toka knew this dragon was the guardian, so he swiftly cast paralysis magic on it, then followed with a poison curse that turned its body a deep purple before shattering it into pieces. Though the cup wasn't his real target, he had to admit it was a stunning artifact. Just then, Sarat arrived at the room, searching for the cup, explaining her delay was due to battling a large horde of monsters. Seeing Sarat, Toka generously handed over the dragon's eye cup, surprising her deeply. It was worth 300 gold coins, and Sarat hesitated to accept such a gift. But Toka, sensing how long she'd been sleepless, wanted to encourage her with this token, because, after all, he was a kind-hearted man who cared for beautiful ladies like Sarat. However, Sarat knew Toka was just bluffing to impress her. Toka confessed his real goal wasn't the cup, but the monster lurking in the dungeon's deepest chamber. Seeing this, Sarat begged to become his bodyguard, with her sword promising she wouldn't get in his way. Having a stunning woman as a protector made Toka feel both thrilled and shy. Sarat was truly grateful and wanted to repay Toka's kindness for the cup. Eventually, Toka agreed to let her accompany him, but warned the journey would be long and could take several days. If Sarat felt scared, she was free to leave any time. Yet Sarat swore that even if it cost her life, she would protect him. So Toka let her take the lead, cutting down monsters blocking their path. After a fierce sword dance, Sarat felled a powerful golden-eyed beast, impressing Toka deeply. Curious about those monsters, Toka recalled having slaughtered many golden-eyed beasts in the ruined wasteland before. Sarat explained these creatures carried massive experience points, so adventurers who killed them would level up quickly. But if they killed humans, no experience was gained. No wonder Toka hadn't leveled up after killing 4 strong bodyguards. Sarat added that all golden-eyed monsters were ferocious, influenced by the Dark King's evil aura. Hearing this, Toka thought of Takato and his yellow magic, fearing something wicked was brewing. The two hurried to the next dungeon chamber. Sarat wondered why she felt monsters nearby, only to discover it was slim Piggymaru, Toka's new teammate. Finding Piggymaru adorable, Sarat approached to befriend the boy. Since Sarat had been sleepless for days, Toka advised her to rest. As soon as she lay down, Toka cast a soothing sleep spell. When Sarat fell into a deep slumber, her form transformed back into an elf with pointed ears. Toka believed Sarat was the revered captain of the near-holy nation. Meanwhile, 3 of the strongest dark dragon knights passed through the forest and found the bodies of 4 eaten bodyguards. Thinking Sarat had slain them all, they eagerly awaited a fight with her. When Sarat awoke and saw Toka peacefully sleeping nearby, she sighed in relief, assuming he hadn't discovered her true identity. But in reality, Toka never slept. He stayed alert, watching over Sarat. Once Sarat regained her strength, the two headed to the dungeon boss's chamber. Upon arrival, a massive tremor shook the ground, forcing them to step back. There stood the Bone King, the very monster Toka had been hunting. Surratt noticed that breaking the monster's lower jaw would be key to defeating it. Despite its immense power that even mercenary guilds couldn't handle, Surratt decided to unleash her spirit energy to aid Toka. She asked him to keep this strength a secret. If the Bone King proved too strong, Surratt advised Toka to flee quickly. When the monster attacked, Toka used paralysis magic to nullify its spells, then followed with poison to finish it off swiftly. Witnessing Toka's power, Surratt was stunned, while Toka focused on collecting 10 bone powders for enhancing Slim. Surratt had many questions, but Toka suggested they leave the dungeon first to talk. As Toka prepared to leave, Slim reminded him he'd missed out some loot. Returning to the monster's corpse, Toka found a magical cloth pouch. Opening it revealed an egg. Though Toka didn't know its purpose, Slim Piggy Maru seemed deeply interested in it, so Toka... Text ends here. Grabbing the egg like a trophy, the battle raged on. Over here, Toka's class was locked in a fierce struggle against hordes of low-level bone monsters. One girl even got slashed so badly she lost her entire hand. Luckily, high-ranking warriors like Ayaka stood firm, shielding their classmates. Meanwhile, Sogo, driven by his thirst for power, charged headfirst, cutting down every monster in his path. Takuto, on the other hand, unleashed wild flames, recklessly nearly burning his own allies alive. Proud as ever of his strength, despite being only level 24, he basked in his fiery chaos. Meanwhile, Surratt returned, clutching the Dragon's Eye Chalice, leaving the mercenaries speechless. But Toka barely cared, quietly heading back ahead. Seeing this, Surratt quickly followed, eager to tell him there'd be a party tomorrow to hand out rewards, and that she'd stay the night. Knowing Surratt had free time that evening, Toka invited her up to his room, making her think he had something important to say. Overjoyed, she accepted without hesitation. Before leaving, Surratt grasped Toka's hand, thanking him for the Dragon's Eye Chalice, their silent bond already deepening. That night, Toka seized the moment to brew a strengthening potion for Piggy Maru. Just then, Surratt knocked on his door as promised that morning. First, Toka asked her to become his bodyguard for an upcoming journey. His goal, to seek the forbidden charm deep within the perilous Golden Demon Zone, an area crawling with savage monsters. Since Surratt was a skilled fighter, her presence would ease Toka's mind. Coincidentally, she also wanted to pass through the Golden Demon Zone to reach a land called Ionat. Yet she had to hide her identity, making travelling with Toka a bit complicated. Still, Toka had already guessed Surratt was the female captain of the Holy Nation Nia, which shocked her. Back in the dungeon, Surratt had fallen asleep, revealing her elf heritage. Now, as teammates, Toka vowed to protect her. Reassured, she revealed the truth. She used spirit magic to conceal her identity, but when she sleeps deeply, her true elf form emerges. A slip-up had once exposed her to 4 holy guards, but now they were all gone, buried in the past. Grateful, Surratt trusted Toka completely. Seeing her as reliable, Toka shared his real name, cementing their bond. Surratt agreed to accompany him as his travelling companion. To repay her, Toka gave Surratt a precious gem. Holding it, she nearly dropped it in surprise. According to Surratt, this was the legendary Azure Dragonstone, an incredibly rare treasure, found only in the bodies of mythical white dragons with blue eyes. Each stone's value far surpassed even the Dragon's Eye Chalice from the dungeon. Surratt tried to return the gem, too stunned to accept such generosity. Toka, sensing her honesty, tossed it back with a grin. Now it was hers. If she didn't want it, she could just throw it away. With no other choice, Surratt kept the gem, revealing she was a wanted fugitive due to personal matters. Toka didn't care about her past. All he knew was now that they were comrades, he had to protect her. Back in her room, Surratt took a cleansing bath, a ritual to purify her body. She mused quietly that maybe her scent was why Toka hadn't noticed her earlier. The night wrapped in quiet reflection, 2 souls bound by fate, preparing for the dangers ahead. If you've ever carried the weight of hidden truths or felt the sting of solitude in a crowded room, take a breath with Toka and Surratt. Their journey reminds us that sometimes the fiercest battles are fought not with swords, but with trust. And, in the darkest zones of our lives, a single ally can light the way. Thanks for sharing this path with me. After today's meeting, Surratt realized Toka's heart was pure gold. She decided to trust him completely and join him on his journey. But when Serat went to Toka's room, some mercenaries caught sight of her and immediately started spreading rumors, claiming the two had some secret rendezvous last night. Serat was furious, but Toka couldn't care less about those lowlifes. Curious, Toka asked Serat if she knew anything about forbidden magic. According to her, ancient spells banned by the goddess were labelled as forbidden magic. Toka pondered this. If the goddess feared these spells so much, they must be truly dangerous. Through many encounters, Toka noticed Serat often placed her hand over her chest before speaking. It seemed like a habit, so he didn't pry. He thanked Serat for this priceless insight, and for the first time, Serat genuinely blushed at being thanked so sincerely. That day, Serat was headed to an award ceremony and told Toka she'd be back by 1 p.m. Meanwhile, Toka planned to head into the forest to run experiments aiming to empower Slim. The Marquis's award banquet was packed with nobles, and he had even invited a sorcerer to verify Serat's dragon eye goblet. But the moment Serat spotted this dark sorcerer, worry clouded her face. Toka waited until 1 p.m. for Serat to return, but she never showed up. Meanwhile, class rep Ayaka approached the goddess about the recent campaign. Ayaka first inquired about her friend Sakura, whose arm had been severed. The goddess revealed she had restored Sakura's arm, prompting Ayaka's deep gratitude. The goddess then invited Ayaka to join Takuto's elite group, where the strongest warriors would fight side by side. But Ayaka, recalling Takuto's past deeds, refused to ally with him. The goddess sneered that Ayaka was threatening the class's unity, but Ayaka vowed to fulfill any task assigned to her. Pleased, the goddess asked Ayaka to train the weaker low-tier fighters. The king had decreed that anyone not growing stronger would be cast out, a mandate that frustrated Ayaka, who had promised to fight for her classmates. Though bitter toward the goddess, Ayaka reluctantly agreed to save her friends. Before she left, the goddess wished her success, but Ayaka's only reply was a cold thank you, fully aware of the goddess's true nature. Furious at losing control over Ayaka, the goddess seethed in silence. Back to Toka, he feared something terrible had happened to Serat, so he enlisted Piggy Maru to check on her at the Marquise's place. On the way, Toka overheard mercenaries whispering that Serat was being hunted and had fled into the Shadow Forest. He also spotted 3 black dragon knights flying toward the woods on dragons. Sure enough, Serat's identity had been exposed, and a horde had come to hunt her down. Knowing escape was impossible, Serat stood her ground. She summoned spirit power into her sword and unleashed a fierce strike, felling one enemy instantly. The second fell with another mighty blow. Though weakened by a curse that sapped her spirit energy, Serat still managed to take down a third. She realized these 3 were weak pawns, mere bait meant to wear her out. The real enemy waited ahead. Charging forward, she faced Gizan, a lieutenant of the feared 5 dragon knights. Unable to tap into her spirit armor, Serat was pushed back repeatedly. Gizan declared his mission to bring her corpse to his master. But seeing how enticing Serat was, a sinister gleam sparked in his eyes. He wanted to claim her first before finishing her off. Exhausted, Serat slipped, and Gizan pinned her, freezing her movements. Just as Gizan's touch threatened to violate her, Toka arrived in the nick of time. Using paralysis magic, he froze Gizan mid-action, silencing him completely. Then, with a deadly poison curse, Toka inflicted unbearable agony until Gizan perished. Toka explained he'd come looking because Serat hadn't returned home. But now, Serat feared travelling with Toka would put him in danger from the Black Dragon Knights. So she handed him back the Dragonstone, asking him to cancel their Guardian Pact. Toka, however, tossed Serat a whole pouch of Dragonstones. He believed she was a powerful protector and didn't want to lose her. Serat's surprise melted into joy. Then Toka suddenly asked her to strip down, making her jump, suspecting he was a pervert. But it turned out he brought her a new outfit to disguise her identity. Embarrassed, Serat initially thought Toka wanted to ogle her, but relief washed over her. Toka proposed a plan to avoid further harassment, find a forbidden witch and ask her to hide Serat for a while. Meanwhile, Toka would dive deep into ancient languages and forbidden magic. Serat wondered why Toka would go to such lengths for her. Toka explained that Serat's grace reminded him of a beloved aunt, so when she was in danger, he couldn't abandon her. Hearing this, Serat felt completely reassured, ready to embark on this journey with Toka. To learn more, Toka lifted the paralysis from Gizan, letting him speak. Serat wanted to know who had ordered her assassination, but before Gizan could reveal anything, a sword sliced through him, ending his life instantly. The attackers who silenced Gizan were none other than the 5 dragon knights themselves. Toka wanted to take down all 4 at once, but they were too skilled. Leading them was a white-haired warrior named Sivit, the so-called ultimate human. Since childhood, Sivit craved battle-seeking worthy opponents. He came to the holy nation of Nia to interrogate the king about Serat's whereabouts, his goal to challenge Serat and prove his supremacy as the ultimate human. Sivit also revealed that King Nia himself had betrayed Serat by revealing her location. Despite his age, the king was obsessed with Serat's body, so much so that even a glance would leave him trembling. The thought of another defiling Serat felt like a personal betrayal to the king, so he paid the 5 dragon knights a fortune to eliminate her. He demanded her pure body be returned as proof. Serat was shocked. She couldn't believe the king was such a depraved man. Even the 5 dragon knights pitied her fate. But bound by the king's gold, they had no choice but to complete their mission. And if Serat survived, the old king vowed to never rest. Hearing this, Serat was utterly crushed. Her life was truly in danger. Yet Sivit granted her the right to fight back, curious to see the true strength of her spirit power. The deal was simple. If Serat could defeat the supreme human, like him, she would be spared. At that moment, Sivit's curiosity sparked towards Toka, prompting him to ask about his identity. Toka, sensing Sivit's power even surpassed that of the soul-eating fiend, began to sweat nervously, yet he soon unleashed a dangerous smile and said he wanted to talk. Sensing the threat, Sivit immediately raised his guard against Toka. Sivit believed that the slightest slip from Toka would mean instant slaughter for everyone around. But if Toka harboured ill intentions, Sivit wouldn't hesitate to eliminate him first. Recognizing Sivit's sharp intuition, Toka resolved to kill him as soon as possible. Through their conversation, Toka learned that Sivit only respected battling formidable foes, so he proposed a fight with the goddess herself, Sao. However, the Black Dragon Knights shared a close bond with the goddess, making it impossible for Sivit to fight her. On the other hand, Sivit was intrigued by the warriors summoned by the goddess. Surely among them were powerful rivals worthy of his challenge. But first, Sivit needed to finish off Serat and bring back her body. He also revealed a shocking truth: Serat was the very cause of her holy kingdom's destruction. It turned out Serat had refused the goddess's orders, defying her will, so the goddess enlisted the Black Dragon Knights to attack the holy kingdom. Now, Sivit wanted to see if Serat was strong enough to face him in battle. Hearing this, Toka thought Sivit was a man obsessed only with combat. So, stepping forward, Toka accepted the challenge. He also revealed that he was one of the goddess's summoned warriors. He vowed that one day he would grow strong enough to challenge Sivit as the ultimate rival. Of course, Sivit could sense when someone was lying, so Toka spoke honestly to answer all of his questions. He shared that among the summoned warriors his status was unique. Toka's rank was far above the others, granting him freedom of action by the goddess's decree. He promised that he would grow many times stronger in the future to not only defeat Sivit, but also claim overwhelming power capable of striking down even the goddess herself. Sivit, intrigued, wondered how Toka planned to grow so powerful. Toka revealed that he was currently journeying toward the Golden Demon Belt. His solo journey was free from the goddess's control because she had promised him freedom as long as he survived the ruins. Finally, Toka vowed to grow strong enough to crush both Sivit and the goddess. Hearing this, Sivit grew excited, eager to see Toka's true strength once he returned. He even set a near-future date for their decisive duel. However, while Sivit allowed Toka to go free, Serat was still marked for elimination. Toka explained that he was relying on Serat as his protector on the way to the Golden Demon Belt, since only with her by his side could he attain the power he desired. Sivit laughed heartily and spared Serat as well, a move that caused dissent among his group, fearing she might disappear. But Sivit glared fiercely and ordered that no one was allowed to touch them. He even sent his subordinates to warn all mercenaries not to disturb Serat and Toka, as he desperately needed a worthy opponent to face in combat. Shortly after, he bade Toka farewell and promised a future rematch. Yet this was the moment Toka had long awaited. As the 4 men stepped into range to cast their spells, Toka unleashed a paralyzing magic, striking them down. Sivit's fury turned to shock as he realized he'd been outplayed by Toka, too late to react. Now, all 4 lay convulsing on the ground, frothing at the mouth. Toka then revealed that the challenge to duel was just a fairy tale he had fabricated all along. But Toka's true purpose is fueled by a burning vengeance against the goddess herself. The Black Dragon Knights who ally with her are also a threat that must be eradicated to the last. Civic confused watches as Toka's body stiffens strangely. Then Toka reveals to him a power only an AI could possess. To prove it, he casts a venomous curse, writhing 4 enemies in agony. Only Civic manages to rise, clutching his spear to keep fighting. Truly, the ultimate human endures moving despite the paralyzing spell, but exhaustion swiftly claims him. He can no longer stand. Among the fallen, one emits a desperate SOS signal, summoning the entire Black Dragon Knights squad to swarm Toka. This time Toka has powered up his slim tentacles, ready to tear them apart. Surratt stays by his side now, officially his protector. As the reinforcements arrive, they realize their captain was utterly crushed by Toka's might. Civic warns them, attack from a distance, do not dare approach Toka. They must eliminate both Toka and Surratt. No AI can be allowed to escape. Yet Toka enters a fusion state, with Piggy Maru unleashing a special skill that drains immense magic power. He urges Piggy Maru to swiftly finish off their foes. Slim's tentacles shoot upward, striking from close range with deadly precision. In no time, the Black Dragon Knights fall like rain, their 4 commanders succumbing to a sleep spell, powerless to resist. After expending massive magical energy, Toka gains new abilities and cruelly experiments on the 4 commanders. First, he unleashes a madness-inducing skill that twists their minds into chaos. Then, a darkness spell blinds them utterly. These scoundrels, after all, are nothing but filth. Toka feels no remorse. After tormenting the Black Dragon Knights, he sends them off defeated, leaving only Civic stubbornly raising his head to question the truth. Toka is just an AI, a mere instrument of revenge. Before Civic's final breath, Toka coldly admits his role as a vengeful pawn. After everything, Toka thanks Surratt for staying by his side. With the Black Dragon Knights vanquished, he believes no AI will trace Surratt's whereabouts anymore. She, in turn, thanks Toka for empowering her to defy a cruel fate. Surratt also notices Toka's occasional gentle expression, so unlike a man consumed by vengeance. Surratt then recalls the 5th Black Dragon Knight, rumoured to be even stronger than Civic, known as the bloodthirsty assassin. Toka suddenly remembers having slain a rider atop a colossal black dragon on their way here. Surratt is stunned he's already taken down that deadly foe. Meanwhile, Class President Ayaka and other warriors grind away at levelling up, but despite countless monster kills, she gains no new skills. At that moment, a subordinate of the goddess named Nayatan arrives with a message for the heroes, but Sogo, arrogant as a high-ranking warrior, dismisses her. Nayatan responds with a punch that knocks him out cold. She urges everyone to return quickly to Alien's capital to prepare for the next training phase. Toka shares his story with Surratt, his arrival, and his oath to crush every enemy on his path of revenge, understanding Toka's purpose. Surratt offers her power to him, though Toka warns this is selfish vengeance, not justice. Surratt believes that as long as he deems it right, she will stand by him. Pleased, Toka places full trust in Surratt, promising to repay her someday. Together, they set off on their journey toward the demon's golden border. Meanwhile, the goddess's minions inspect the ruins, and the crystal now blackened a sign of ominous change. Unaware that Toka has already slaughtered all monsters inside their dull-witted commander decides no report is needed. No one has ever survived these ruins anyway. Back in town, Toka and Surratt return for a night before departure. Toka is fascinated by a Fly King mask at a street vendor's stall. He learns that the Fly King was the leader of a demon island, once a fierce warrior, fighting evil only to be exiled by the Demon King. Though defeated, he became a symbol of hope for many. Surratt, hesitant to meddle in Toka's affairs, goes to bed early, believing interference might hinder him. Meanwhile, Toka buys the mask, thinking it suits his more demonic nature. He believes a day will come when he will make the goddess and her cronies taste true suffering. After the 5 Dragon Knights fall, nations secretly convene, unwilling to believe the ultimate human Civic is dead. The goddess reveals the Dragon Knights were chasing Surratt, suggesting a fierce battle ensued. Blood-stained cloth found at the scene is believed to be Surratt's, reinforcing the belief she was severely injured. The destruction of the Black Dragon Knights is a devastating blow to humanity in the war against the Demon King. The goddess, seeing opportunity, plans to exploit the rising importance of alien heroes, knowing nations rely solely on their power against the Demon King's forces. Leaders suspect Serrat is the culprit behind the attack, but guards report a group claiming responsibility, the arson sorcerers. On their journey, Tokka and Serrat pass a place called the Blood Arena, where slaves and mercenaries battle to the death for prize money. Originally a training ground for mercenaries, it's now a dark spectacle for the nation's citizens. As night falls, they find an inn to rest. Serrat wants to share the room to save costs. Tokka agrees, though it's awkward since he's a guy. But Serrat's shy admission reveals it was her idea all along. Though the Fly King had been defeated, he had become a symbol to many. Meanwhile, Serrat dared not follow Tokka and went to bed earlier than usual, believing that interfering with his mission would only hinder him. Tokka, for his part, bought a Fly King mask to aid his future actions, feeling that the role of a fiend suited him better. And Tokka believed the day would come when he'd make that goddess and her minions taste true suffering. After the 5 Dragon Knights were slain, the nations held a secret meeting, unable to believe that the supreme human civet had fallen. Goddess Cho revealed that the 5 Dragon Knights had been chasing Serrat and likely fought a fierce battle with her. At the scene, blood-stained fabric believed to belong to Serrat was found, leading them to think she was gravely injured. The fall of the Black Dragon Knights was a massive blow to humanity in the war against the Demon King. Goddess Cho saw this as an opportunity to exploit, as the nations now relied solely on alien warriors. The role of the otherworldly heroes is crucial, but it's clear the goddess is exploiting this moment for her own gain. When the Demon King attacks, nations rely solely on these alien heroes. Returning to the main issue, leaders believe Serrat is behind this chaos. But guards report a group calling themselves the Arson Sorcerers Guild has claimed to have defeated the Black Knight Brigade. On their way, Tokka and Serrat pass through a place called the Blood Arena. According to Serrat, it's where slaves and mercenaries fight each other to the death, with the winner receiving prize money from the previous match. Once a training ground for mercenaries, the arena has now become entertainment for the nation's people. As night falls, Tokka and Serrat find an inn to rest. Tonight, Serrat wants to share a room with Tokka to save money. Tokka agrees immediately, though it's a bit awkward since he's a man, but this is Serrat's plan. She shyly assures him it's no problem. While they're out for dinner, they overhear 2 mercenaries gossiping that Serrat single-handedly took down the infamous 5 Dragon Knights in the dark forest. Serrat is stunned, nearly choking on her food. They mention an organization called the Sorcerers Guild, claiming responsibility, saying they used a curse to eliminate all 5 Dragon Knights. Hearing this, Tokka wonders if the guild includes some white-haired, blindfolded master. Just then, members of that guild boldly enter the tavern and order a feast. Their presence fills the room with tension, as if a storm is about to break. What secrets do these sorcerers hold, and what will this encounter mean for Tokka and Serrat's dangerous journey ahead? And they always boast about using a curse to wipe out the 5 Dragon Knights. Tokka, sensing a convenient scapegoat in those claiming to be the culprits, takes the bait. Yet, some doubt the Jujutsu Society's power to defeat those knights. They whisper of a figure who could the Forbidden Witch, said to be a dark elf who's been hiding away for 15 years. Seeing this, Tokka steps forward to question the 2 mercenaries, eager to learn more and build trust. Promising them a feast, the mercenaries reveal that a blood gladiator once met the Forbidden Witch. She's a famed champion in the arena. Coincidentally, she just entered the restaurant, setting the stage for an encounter that could change everything. They informed Tokka that the beast woman there was the arena's strongest fighter, Eva Speed. Without hesitation, Tokka approached Eva to introduce himself. But Eva, aware of his real intent, cut to the chase. He wanted to know the whereabouts of the Forbidden Witch. Eva said she had been to the Yellow Demon's Belt, but never met the Forbidden Witch. Meanwhile, Serrat used her abilities to detect that Eva was lying. Eva warned Tokka that the Yellow Demon's Belt was deadly. No normal person could survive more than 3 days there. She hoped Tokka would value his life enough to abandon his quest. With that, Eva bid farewell and left. On the way back, Serrat told Tokka that Eva's words were false. She must know where the Forbidden Witch is hiding. Distracted by seeking information, Tokka forgot to bring food back for Little Slim. Then, he suddenly remembered his magical bag and pulled it out to use. This time, Toka produced a delicious-looking cake that even Surat admired. The bag itself was beautifully crafted, enchanting Surat's heart. But when Surat realized Toka was sitting too close, she shyly moved a bit away. A breeze swept through the room, lifting her hair, and Toka silently acknowledged just how breathtaking Surat truly was. His heart fluttered. But first, Toka had to plan his next moves, how to get Eva to reveal the forbidden witch's location. Surat explained that blood gladiators like Eva always needed money, because they had to pay hefty ransoms for their freedom. Yet Eva wasn't fighting for herself. In truth, Eva was battling to save a young dark elf girl from a life of slavery. Meanwhile, Serat demonstrated her spirit powers for Toka to witness. When she transformed, Serat looked just like the magical maidens from Toka's world. Toka had to admit every strike from Serat's sword was fluid and graceful. No wonder Sivikt always regarded Serat as a rival he longed to face. After a relentless sword dance, Serat was drenched in sweat but still wanted to teach Toka some basic close combat techniques. She had once been a captain training many squad members. With that, Serat spread her arms wide, challenging Toka to attack her. As Toka threw a punch, Serat skillfully dodged and twisted his arm behind him. When she noticed his sweat-soaked skin, she blushed, worried her own scent might embarrass him. But Toka was fascinated by the technique and asked Serat to teach him more. After training, Serat took Toka's clothes outside to wash them, but the lingering scent of Toka's rugged sweat clung stubbornly to the shirt. The smell was so intoxicating that Serat couldn't resist and took a subtle sniff just to satisfy her craving, only to jump in surprise when she realized Toka was right behind her. Luckily, he hadn't noticed her little secret. Toka, puzzled by the missing shirt, asked Serat about it. Calmly, she explained that washing clothes was second nature to her, and that she'd washed his shirt together with hers. While Serat went to rest early, Toka stayed up absorbed in studying a forbidden magic tome. Occasionally, Serat's quiet breathing caught his attention, revealing her gentle and kind nature, a rare gem who probably held back her emotions to fulfill her role as a model bodyguard. Just then, Serat woke and noticed Toka still awake. Concerned for his health, she got out of bed and brought him 2 bottles of herbal remedies. One promised a peaceful sleep, while the other was like a rocket fuel, designed to keep Toka alert and energized for an hour. Of course, Serat had no dark intentions and reassured him not to worry. Seeing the herbs, Toka pulled out a candy from his pocket, the sweet aroma mixing unexpectedly with the herbs. Trusting that the candy would blend well with Serat's herbs, Toka handed her the cup. But in a clumsy moment, Serat accidentally poured the entire energizing potion into his cup. Flustered, she apologized, immediately fearing she'd ruined the balance. Toka just smiled and encouraged her not to worry, he'd be more awake than ever. Yet paradoxically, he couldn't focus on reading at all. Beside him, Serat teased, gently asking if he needed any help. But Toka gritted his teeth, telling her to get some rest, since he had to gather intel at dawn. Watching this, Serat wondered if Toka was somehow immune to women's charms. Toka admitted he felt the buzz from the herbs, but remained steadfast. His life was devoted to revenge, leaving no room for romance. He promised that once vengeance was settled, he'd indulge Serat's affections without hesitation. Hearing this, Serat knelt and vowed to give her all to support Toka's mission. The next morning, she accompanied him to the arena to dig up information about Eva. Serat learned that Eva was once a slave sold into the brutal blood arena. Her unmatched strength made her fights legendary, undefeated in the past 2 years. Tomorrow was her final battle. Serat also discovered Eva had earned enough to buy her freedom 2 years ago, but continued fighting to save a dark elf girl named Led. The final battle was often a death sentence for blood gladiators. Toka suspected Eva faced a deadly rival, while Serat believed the arena's managers might be scheming to sabotage the fighters. Toka saw this as his chance to gain Eva's trust, and vowed to act immediately to save her. That afternoon, Toka approached Eva intending to ask about the forbidden witch. Eva denied knowing anything, but Serat appeared, calling out her lie. Eva went on the defensive, sensing a trap. Toka insisted his only goal was to save her and revealed the organizers' conspiracy to ensure Eva's defeat tomorrow. Knowing Eva held the key to the forbidden witch's location, Toka refused to let her perish. Together with Serat, he urged Eva to escape with Led. Eva calmed and thanked them, but insisted she had to fight in the blood arena tomorrow. Running away meant both she and Led would be hunted mercilessly by the Duke's mercenaries. Toka suggested Eva seek refuge with the Forbidden Witch despite the dangerous Golden Demon Zone. Confident, he promised to protect them both. Eva scoffed, doubting Toka's strength. So Toka recounted his feats, slaying the Bone King and recently taking down 5 members of the 5 Dragon Knights. To prove his power, he paralyzed Eva with magic, leaving her unable to move. Surat then revealed that she was the female captain of the Holy Kingdom Nea, whose 5 Dragon Knights had relentlessly hunted her until Toka wiped them out. Hearing this, Eva finally believed their words. Yet she remained determined to fight tomorrow, wanting to seize her freedom with her own hands, refusing to rely on anyone else. Toka understood Eva's resolve and questioned whether the Duke would truly honor his promise if she won. Eva admitted the Duke was a villain likely to break his word, but she trusted him because he always paid when she won. Still, Eva had only just met Toka, so she couldn't fully trust him yet. Toka scolded her for her naivete, then wished her luck if she fought he hoped she'd win. If she ran, he told her to find him early in the morning. With that, Toka and Surat left Eva to ponder her choices. On their way back, they encountered some sorcerers performing superstitious rituals, claiming a house was cursed because its owner died foaming at the mouth. The townsfolk believed the curse was real, but Toka dismissed the sorcerers as lunatics spouting nonsense. When Surat prepared to intervene, Toka unleashed magic that drove the 4 sorcerers mad, causing them to viciously attack each other. So Toka began recounting his feats, slaying the Bone King and recently taking down all 5 Dragon Knights. To prove his strength, he cast a paralysis spell on Eva, freezing her in place. Even Eva couldn't believe it. Toka wields a terrifying power that instantly earns Eva's trust. Without hesitation, Surat reveals that she is none other than the female captain of the Holy Kingdom Nea. The infamous 5 Dragon Knights had relentlessly hunted her down, but each one was vanquished by Toka's hand. Hearing this, Eva's doubts dissolve. Toka's words ring with undeniable truth. Yet despite this revelation, Eva steels herself to face the blood-soaked battle awaiting her in the arena tomorrow. Eva's resolve is clear. She desires freedom, earned by her own hands, refusing to owe anything to anyone, not even her father. Toka understands this fiery spirit and questions if the Duke will honor his promise even if Eva wins. The Duke, after all, is a villain prone to betrayal. But Eva, recalling how he is always paid up when she triumphed, clings to hope that he will keep his word and grant Led her freedom. Still, Eva has only just met Toka. A single day is too brief to place full trust in a stranger. Hearing this, Toka scolds her for naivety. If Eva chooses to fight in the arena tomorrow, he wishes her victory. But if she chooses to escape, he urges her to find him early in the morning. With that, Toka and Surat set off, leaving Eva alone to wrestle with her thoughts. On their way back, the two encounter a group of sorcerers performing superstitious rituals before the townsfolk. They claim that the inhabitants of a nearby house are cursed, defying the dreaded Muji spell. Since the homeowner died foaming at the mouth, the villagers are convinced the curse is real. But Toka dismisses these sorcerers as nothing more than deluded charlatans spreading fear. When they begin recruiting villagers as followers, Surat's patience snaps ready to intervene. Before she can act, Toka unleashes a violent spell on the quartet, driving them into madness. The 4 sorcerers turn on each other, biting and tearing in a frenzy. That night, Toka and Surat wait outside the city gates for Eva. Surat wonders if Eva and Led will ever taste freedom, but Toka, knowing the Duke's wicked nature, is certain he will never let Eva go. As long as Eva clings to blind trust in that cruel master, regret is inevitable. Meanwhile, Eva still believes that fulfilling her duties will please the Duke enough to grant her freedom. Yet Toka's words haunt her, stealing her sleep. Unable to rest, Eva ventures to confirm the Duke's reputation herself. Approaching his chamber, she overhears a chilling conversation between the Duke and his henchmen. At first, the Duke lavishes praise on Eva, lulling her into a false sense of security. But then, he reveals his sinister plan to sabotage her final match by drugging her into paralysis, ensuring her defeat. Eva's blood boils. The Duke has always treated her like a disposable pawn, and once she loses, he intends to strip her bare before the victor. Worse still, the Duke plans to seize Led, raising her as his plaything. He believes Led will blossom into a beauty to entertain him, until boredom sets in and he sells her to a brothel for profit. Eva's skin crawls at the vile depths of his depravity. She hadn't imagined the Duke to be such a despicable monster. Determined to save Liz, Eva hatched a daring rescue plan. Time was running out, and Liz's life hung in the balance. On her way back, Eva crossed paths with Muji, the head of the Assen Guild, who eagerly awaited Eva's performance the next day. But Eva had already packed her bags ready to meet Toka at the city gate. She confirmed Toka's warning the Duke was truly vile to his core. Eva agreed to lead Toka's group in the quest for the Forbidden Witch, but first they had to save Liz. Of course, Toka accepted without hesitation. Together, they set off for the tavern where Liz worked. Though the night was deep, Liz still scrubbed tables, while the tavern owner spat insults calling her useless and worthless. A customer at the tavern even dared to harass Liz, but the owner quickly intervened. After all, the Duke planned to adopt Liz someday. Yet the man saw Liz as cold and emotionless, never smiling or laughing, so the owner beat Liz relentlessly, trying to prove that her indifference was just a mask. Each blow echoed Liz's silent suffering. But Liz clung to Eva's promise they would fight together for freedom. Enduring the pain, she waited for Eva's rescue. Even when the owner screamed in her ear, Liz refused to respond. As the customer left, Eva burst through the door, sending the owner sprawling. Fueled by rage over Liz's torment, Eva drew her sword ready to strike. The owner dropped to her knees, begging for mercy, claiming she acted only on the Duke's orders. Liz's heart swelled with relief. Eva had come for her at last. Eva agreed to spare the owner's life on one condition: she must lie to the Duke to ensure Eva and Liz's safe escape. The owner hastily swore to obey, desperate to survive. Just then, Toka appeared at the tavern wearing his Viking mask. He pounded the wall, and Liz's terrified reaction revealed the horrors she endured under the owner's cruelty. Toka urged Eva to take Liz and leave, vowing to punish the owner himself. Toka declared the owner might fool Eva, but never him. He knew all too well how she shattered objects and made noise to torment Liz. Having suffered through the same hell, Toka despised her with a fiery passion. After what she had done, he would not let her live another day. The owner's true face emerged: an evil old crone who treated Liz like an animal and spat threats at Toka. She warned that causing trouble would cost him his life at the Duke's hands, but Toka was unfazed. Unleashing a barrage of magic, he left her bruised and battered, then staged the scene to look like a robbery gone wrong. From this moment on, he vowed never to hesitate in punishing scoundrels like that vile woman. After dealing with the innkeeper, Toka returned to the group, eager to check on Led's spirit. Seeing this, Eva reminded Led to greet Toka and Serat, so the young girl introduced herself, hoping to forge a new bond with Toka. At the same time, she sought Toka's help for a peaceful future alongside Eva. Naturally, Toka agreed, but first the group had to venture into a perilous place. Yet, as long as she could live with Eva, Liz was ready to face any challenge Toka demanded. Eva noticed a strange sound from Toka and asked about it, prompting him to introduce his companion, Slim, Piggy, Maru. He also introduced Eva and Liz to Slim, so they could get acquainted. On their journey, Eva promised to help Toka find the Forbidden Witch, but first she wanted to know his true purpose. Toka revealed he possessed an ancient spellbook written in a lost language. Only the Forbidden Witch could translate it. After everything, Eva found herself trusting Toka more deeply. Despite having the chance to threaten Lead for information, he chose not to. Instead, Toka saved them both from the sinister plot, leading Eva to see him as a genuinely kind soul. Toka in turn felt satisfied that Eva had truly become his comrade. After some walking, they found 2 horses for travel. Seeing Toka extend his arms to save them, Serat's joy was clear, but Toka reminded them he had a purpose for bringing Eva and Lead along. Since Eva had met the Forbidden Witch before, her guidance would prove invaluable. Moreover, the Forbidden Witch belonged to the Dark Elf clan, so rescuing a fellow Dark Elf like Led might earn Toka favour with her. Having faced hardships similar to Led's in his youth, Toka wanted the girl to smile brightly, not tremble and cry constantly. But as they ascended the mountain, they spotted pursuers closing in. Eva recalled that before leaving the arena she had encountered Muji, likely the one chasing them so relentlessly. She apologised for dragging everyone into danger and promised to hold off the attackers so Toka could safely escort Led. But as the group's guide, Eva couldn't stay behind. So, the group stayed put to fight off their enemies. Toka lit a torch on a horse's back to drive the foes apart, aiming to split them into manageable groups. Serat soon reported that the Duke's team was chasing the horses, while Muji's cursed sorcerer squad advanced here. Toka warned Eva to protect Lead, fiercely sensing Muji was a cunning foe. Meanwhile, Toka and Surat prepared to take down Muji's squad. Donning his royal crown, Toka readied himself for the confrontation. Muji arrived at the forest and noticed broken branches, suspecting traps. He ordered his men to wait outside and called out, urging Eva to surrender. Only Sarah appeared wearing a Fly King mask that puzzled Muji, who mistook her for one of the legendary Fly King's minions. Not wanting trouble, he promised to spare her if she handed over Eva and Lead obediently. Otherwise, he threatened to curse her with unbearable pain. Muji boasted he had cursed 5 dragon knights to death, and even the supreme human civet was powerless against his hexes. Surat, unimpressed, agreed to guide Muji's group to Eva, but Muji sensed something off and ordered his men to halt. He knew Surat didn't intend to betray Eva and suspected a trap. Surat challenged Muji to try killing her without curses, revealing that the sorcerers were actually assassins' lackeys. These assassins were hunted by heroes across realms for their evil deeds. Muji's curse was just his deadly poisons, silent killers, with no trace but death. Muji spread rumors that he had slain 5 dragon knights with his curse to make the people believe in its power. Surat wondered about Muji's real goal, and he revealed his plan to use the Duke to gradually seize control of the kingdom, eliminating anyone who dared stand in his way with his poisons. Muji then asked if Surat had allies, but she insisted she was enough to take them on alone. Removing her mask, she revealed herself as the Holy Kingdom's female captain, who had survived battles against 5 dragon knights. But Muji doubted she was the one who defeated them, unwilling to believe she surpassed even supreme human civet. Muji introduced his group's members, Bega Eva's rival, in tomorrow's blood duel, Vargan Bega's older brother, and their youngest sibling who once hunted Surat. Tonight, these two planned to exact revenge on Surat. With Muji's men surrounding the forest's rear escape was impossible. Surat feigned worry as the sorcerers closed in. Even Muji admitted Surat was a prize too tempting to resist, deciding to bless her by making her carry his child. But Surat sensed the moment was right for Toka to strike. She emitted a golden light, blinding everyone, while Toka and Slim launched a surprise attack from within the forest. Slim's tentacles paralyzed the sorcerers, and Toka revealed he had already wiped out Muji's reinforcements lurking behind. It turned out Toka had set a fake trap to lure Muji away from the forest's heart, then snuck behind to eliminate all backup. Muji and his comrades quickly fell to Toka's potent poisons. Surat admired Toka's flawless strategy, but he praised her for buying crucial time that allowed him to dispatch the entire sorcerer squad. He then asked her to inform Eva so she could take swift action because the Duke's soldiers were returning to the forest. Meanwhile, Piggy Maru was exhausted from connecting with Toka. Toka tasked Surat with protecting Lead, while he and Eva set out to confront the Duke, giving Eva her chance to end him directly. Thanks to Eva's keen ears, she could precisely gauge the enemy's numbers, sharpening their hope in the looming battle. If you've ever faced shadows closing in, feeling the weight of unseen threats, remember how these warriors stood firm hearts, lighting the darkest woods. And if you're wandering lost between trust and doubt, may this tale remind you that even in the fiercest storms, a single loyal soul can be the anchor. Like the path they took, we see Eva standing alone in the middle of the road. The first group lunged to seize her head, but Eva was just bait Toka's trap to unleash his paralyzing spell and poison on the entire horde. Now, only the Duke and his guards remain by his side. At this moment, the Duke still believes Eva is trapped and surrounded, thinking escape is impossible. He orders his men to finish Eva off and take her skin to craft a suit for Cholet, so the two could be together forever, never to part. Hearing this, Toka can only sigh at such vile scum. He casts his paralyzing spell, but the system warns he's hit the target limit. So Toka switches to a vision-blocking spell to protect Eva, taking down the enemies one by one. Eva herself, the arena's strongest fighter, quickly dispatches these foes. Before long, she's cut down half of the Duke's guards. Seeing the rest flee, Toka asks Eva to finish them off, leaving no one alive. Eva lifts her spear and hurls it, striking one enemy who collapses lifelessly from his horse. Meanwhile, Toka cleans up the remaining stragglers. Suddenly, an enemy attempts a sneak attack, but Surat's arrow saves him just in time. The Duke, furious, orders his men to kill Toka at all costs. Yet driven by fear, none dare step forward. At this moment, Eva thanks Toka for everything, admitting that thanks to him she's been able to fight with such fierce excitement. With that, she charges ahead to eliminate the Duke's remaining men. Each swing of her sword sends heads flying. Soon, every enemy is cut down. Now only the Duke remains. Still believing he can escape, he vows to make Eva suffer a tragic end. But Toka recharges his mana and immediately casts paralysis, freezing the Duke stiff. He then hands him over to Eva, allowing her to exact revenge because the Duke once harmed Liz and Eva cannot forgive that. Eva bids the Duke farewell, swinging her sword to sever his head. After wiping out all the filth, Toka asks Sarat to prepare their gear for departure, thanking her for the timely arrow. Sarat's keen decisions have always guided them well, so Toka appoints her as deputy leader to command the group whenever he's absent. Before leaving, Toka freezes the corpses of the cursed mages at the scene. With this magic, he can shatter their bodies without leaving a trace by smashing the ice with a hammer. He believes that from now on, no one will ever know about their cursed legacy again. Meanwhile, King Unza receives news that the cursed mages have vanished, only the Duke's body and his men remain. The king worries deeply about how to report this to the goddess. Toka's group takes shelter in a cave after heavy rain. Watching Sarat change clothes, Liz can only envy her. She's heard that without a figure like Sarat's, no one will ever fancy her. But Sarat dismisses those words as the tavern owner's nonsense, telling Liz to only listen to her from now on. After putting Eva to bed, Sarat advises Toka to get some rest too. If he struggles to sleep, she offers a thigh pillow. But knowing how hard Sarat has worked, Toka thinks it's more fitting for her to rest her head on his lap instead. But the moment Sarat lay down, she realised Toka was just joking, though she'd believed it all along. Ever curious, Toka wondered how an elf's ears felt, so Sarat offered hers for him to touch. Yet barely a stroke in Sarat was overwhelmed with pleasure she could hardly bear. Sarat also pondered whether Toka held feelings for Eva and Liz since he treated them kindly ever since they joined the group. Toka said Eva had a kind heart much like his uncle's, whom he deeply respected along with his aunt. As for Liz, she had endured hardships just like Toka did as a child. That was why Toka stood up to fight and protect Liz. Yet he called himself wicked for dwelling on revenge, saying if Sarat hated him, she could leave any time. But Sarat hated the goddess just as fiercely. Recently promoted to vice commander, she couldn't abandon Toka now. Seeing Sarat's unwavering loyalty, Toka promised to grant her one wish someday. For now, he urged Sarat to sleep early to prepare for the journey to the Golden Demon Belt. Meanwhile, class president Ayaka was secretly training under Niatan, who warned her not to reveal their lessons to AI. Ayaka wondered why Niatan was pushing her so hard. Niatan confessed Ayaka reminded her of her sister, and she wanted Ayaka to grow strong enough to face this cruel world. The next morning, Toka gifted Liz new clothes, lighting up her face with joy. Sarat suggested naming their group before entering the Golden Demon Belt. Sarat proposed the Fly King's Warriors, the name of the army, once led by the Fly King. Everyone agreed. That evening, the team reached the edge of the Golden Demon Belt, dominated by a massive withered ancient tree at its centre. Eva extended her hand, asking Toka to channel some mana. Moments later, a magical map appeared on Eva's palm, showing a red mark indicating where the Forbidden Witch awaited. But before venturing further, Toka's buried hatred resurfaced. He had long believed time could heal wounds. Yet just the goddess's face stirred unbearable bitterness. Swearing vengeance, Toka vowed to return after this quest and make the goddess taste hell itself. The Golden Demon Belt was perilous, swarming with high-level monsters promising massive experience gains, though just an E-rank Toka aimed to level up fast and close the gap with other warriors. Meanwhile, the goddess's warriors also grew stronger from monster hunts, though their stat boosts were modest, mainly enhancing combat skills. She'd invited famed mercenary groups to train them, preparing for the all-out war against the Demon King's forces, where no warrior could escape. Some warriors wore confident smiles, but others trembled, knowing many wouldn't survive the final battle. The goddess demanded their combat readiness be sharpened through real fights, sending them into the monster nest at the Golden Demon Belt. Meanwhile, Toka used his magical pouch to create chocolate cakes for everyone. Eva and Liz exclaimed they'd never tasted anything so delicious. Sarat blushed deeply, clearly savouring every bite. Once the treats were devoured, the group plunged into the Golden Demon Belt. Despite heavy gear, Liz insisted on helping carry supplies, believing it would make battles easier. Toka respected Liz's determination as a mercenary. He also reminded Piggy Maru to stay alert. Danger lurked everywhere. Though well prepared with food and water, Toka had never been here before and didn't know what monsters awaited. After some distance, they encountered their first foe, a lizard-like beast resembling those from the ruined wastelands. According to their plan, Eva would scout ahead to test its strength, while Toka stayed behind to cast paralysis spells in support. Next came sleep and poison spells to finish it off. Toka felt reassured as all control magic worked against this monster. He noted this first beast wasn't as strong as the wasteland ones, but sensed fiercer foes waiting ahead. He recognized the creature from a forbidden magic tome and showed it to Surat. The moss on the beast was a key ingredient for cursed artifacts. Intrigued, Surat asked to borrow the book for study. Trusting her, Toka handed it over, gladly delighting Surat. Soon, the group pressed on toward the forbidden witch's location. But something in Toka's bag suddenly glowed. After escaping dense thickets, they had to cross a treacherous stream slick with moss. Surat warned Liz to tread carefully, while Eva offered to carry her across, fearing a slip. Yet Toka insisted Liz build independence now. Liz didn't want to rely on adults and tried crossing alone. True to form, she slipped, but Piggy Maru caught her just in time. Toka planned to support Liz whenever needed, seeing her struggle mirrored his own path to maturity. Once across, Liz wondered if Toka and Eva's whispered talk was about her causing worry. Eva teased that they were discussing elf-human relationships. Curious Eva mused what children from Surat and Toka would be like. At that moment, Surat slipped, crossing the stream, falling into the cold water. After a chilly soak, Surat apologized for her carelessness. Seeing her shiver, Toka wrapped his jacket around her. Though Surat relished the warmth, she pretended it was unnecessary, secretly admitting she often sniffed Toka's clothes after laundry. As they walked, Eva detected danger ahead. She told Liz to retreat behind Surat for protection, while Toka moved forward to fight. Eva warned these monsters were strong. She and Liz had fled them before. Toka ordered Eva back and stepped up to face the enemy alone. The monsters resembled hornet heads, their many yellow eyes gleaming. Without time to coordinate with Piggy Maru, Toka hid behind a tree, waiting for the perfect moment to unleash his paralysis spell as the creatures approached. Paralyzing their bodies with magic and overwhelming force, Toka drove them to madness until they were utterly destroyed. With no time to waste, he had to end the fight swiftly, and when the dust settled, Toka reached level 178. Eva wondered how could Toka understand these monsters so deeply. He even got close enough to carve them up. Eva thought Toka wanted to turn them into food, but Surat explained these creatures came straight from a forbidden grimoire. Their bodies contained a rare ingredient that could empower Piggy Maru, but this time it was a slimy, gooey mess that made Slim shiver in fear, too scared to eat it. Suddenly, the group felt the presence of a powerful monster nearby. Even the spirits around Surat sensed the danger lurking close. So, she and Eva drew their swords ready for battle. Meanwhile, Slim fished out an object from Toka's backpack. It was the glowing egg he had found in the dungeon earlier. The shell cracked and shimmered, signaling that it was about to hatch. Moments later, a foal emerged slightly larger than expected. No one knew what kind of monster it was, but the little horse seemed gentle, instinctively approaching Toka, as if he were its master. Surat carefully lifted the foal's mane and discovered a magical, mana-absorbing organ proof this was a rare magical creature. Seeing this, Toka began channeling a huge surge of mana into it. As Toka poured mana in, he watched the foal's status panel closely. Mana drained quickly, but after absorbing a great deal, the creature evolved into a black stallion. Toka realized this horse could carry their heavy gear, yet the stallion seemed hungry for more power, urging Toka to feed it even more mana. So, Toka pumped in a staggering 10,000 mana, transforming the black stallion into a giant divine steed. Though its form was a little intimidating, Toka knew this was a trusty ally. The horse had 8 legs, just like Odin's legendary Sleipnir. Inspired, Toka named it Sleipnir, a symbol of strength and loyalty. Now, their team had a powerful new companion. Surat stepped forward to greet it. Sleipnir bent down and affectionately licked Surat's ear repeatedly, clearly fond of her. Meanwhile, the goddess's heroes were closing in on the yellow demon's belt, steadily leveling up after defeating monsters there. But Takuto felt uneasy being escorted by mercenaries. He saw himself as mighty, yet was treated like a child under constant protection. To make matters worse, his experience points were split, slowing his level-ups to a snail's pace. Determined to prove his strength, he decided to unleash everything he had. That night, the mercenaries sensed a dangerous horde approaching. These were powerful monsters, so the team ordered the heroes to fall back. But Takuto stood proudly at the front, refusing AI protection. Moments later, a swarm of horned beasts charged. The guards united, slicing down the first wave. Neoton hoped to share experience with the heroes, but with so many enemies, it was impossible. The guards, all seasoned fighters, quickly felled the initial attackers, but the monsters shifted their assault toward the heroes. This was Takuto's moment. His Inferno ability evolved to a new level, incinerating the remaining beasts in a blazing fury. Then, this guy even had the audacity to call himself the future king, leaving the mercenary guild speechless. Meanwhile, the Takao sisters spotted a few assassins sneaking into the forest. The elder sister suspected that the goddess herself sent them to trouble their class. On the other side, Toka noticed flickering flames coming from the forest. At first he thought it was just some bored monsters fighting, but the fire came from the northeast, the land of that goddess. The next morning, Serat woke up only to find Toka missing, and even Piggy Maru had vanished. She had no clue where they had gone. Eva reassured her, saying Toka was a man of honor who would never abandon his comrades in danger. When they stepped outside, the whole group found Toka sitting beside the corpse of a monster. Toka explained he sensed the beast while sleeping and went out to finish it off right away. According to Eva, this was an elite species of monster, incredibly powerful in the forest. Yet Toka single-handedly defeated it, a feat Eva couldn't believe even in dreams. But Toka brushed it off, saying this creature was nothing more than a minor pest. Serat also confirmed this was Toka's true strength, and thanks to him, she found a ray of hope in this monster-infested wilderness. Still, Toka's habit of bearing all burdens alone worried Serat deeply. After a day's journey, the group reached an impassable cliff. Toka scouted ahead and discovered a path eastward that crossed the cliff. Seeing Toka struggle, Serat urged him to rest, but he warned everyone that heavy rain was coming soon. They had to keep moving. Along the way, Eva noticed the monsters had vanished, leading Serat to suspect they were nearing the Forbidden Witch's domain. Later, Toka scouts ahead and discovers a hidden path eastward winding along a cliff's edge. Serat, seeing Toka's exhaustion, urges him to rest, but he knows a storm is brewing and insists they press forward. Along the way, Eva senses something strange. No monsters lurk nearby anymore. Serat notices too. Thinking they were nearing the Forbidden Witch's lair, the number of monsters thinned out. Seeing Led lost in thought, Toka assumed the girl was scared of the forest. But Led assured her, saying not a hint of fear touched her heart, for Sister Serat had promised that as long as Toka lived, he would shield everyone to safety. With Toka by his side, Led felt a calm certainty. No worries could shake him. Hearing this, Toka realized the girls had poured all their trust into him. A silent vow formed within to give everything to honor their faith. After a few minutes' trek, the group reached the narrow path cutting through the cliff. Surpassing this hurdle meant reaching the Forbidden Witch's domain. Joy lit up their faces like dawn breaking after endless night. At last, they stood where their hearts longed to be. Gratitude flowed freely between them, each thankful for the other's companionship. Eva believed this place held the promise of peaceful days, with Led dreaming of growing vegetables and raising fish, far from the brutal arena world they left behind. But just as hope blossomed, a lurking monster materialized above them, shattering the calm. Toka shouted for Eva to hold back, but she had already drawn her sword and severed the beast's head in a swift arc. With the monster defeated, Toka found himself unable to cast any spells. Though Eva's strike was just a cold unease, gripped him something was off. And as if confirming his dread, the fallen monster suddenly began to glow with an eerie light. But Toka refused to let Eva sacrifice herself. Her chances of survival were too low, and she didn't need to bear this burden alone. When the monster appeared so close, Toka was caught off guard and hesitated to use paralysis magic, making a mistake alongside Eva. Plus, Eva carried the map to the Forbidden Witch's lair. She simply couldn't die now. Toka prepared a resonance stone to lure the monsters, confident that only his skills could deal critical damage to these elite foes. He ordered Eva not to worry anymore, vowing to fight so the group could reach their destination. Seeing Toka face the battle alone, Serat knelt and prayed for his safe return, but Toka commanded her that if he fell, she must take charge. Meanwhile, the monsters charged through the heroes' ranks, throwing them into panic, as everyone scattered in different directions, losing all control. Sogo and Takuto swung their swords wildly, but couldn't cut down the swarm of minor beasts. Takuto admitted he was merely an obstacle in the monster's path. To save a friend, Bar boldly charged forward, but the damn monster abandoned her and fled. In this life-or-death moment, Bar remembered Toka and feared she'd have to follow him into battle now. Earlier, Toka instructed Bar to hide in a nearby cave, so now he could unleash his full strength without worrying about her safety. First, Toka poured massive magic energy to fully transform his battle steed. Then, he leapt to a strategic spot, turning this place into a graveyard for the monsters. After activating the resonance stone, Toka asked Piggy Maru to send the signal to start the fight, while M-Slim emitted a high-frequency sound to summon all creatures here. Seconds later, the ground trembled. Monsters were being drawn in. Toka donned his helmet, preparing for a high-speed race against the oncoming swarm. Before charging, he asked his two pets if they were ready to sacrifice themselves for the team. Both the Black Horse and Piggy Maru eagerly nodded. So Toka teamed up with Slim to launch a full-scale assault. Meanwhile, Ayaka was stunned seeing two new arrivals members of Yasuo's squad. But Yasuo callously blamed their deaths on slow reactions and admitted he didn't even bother fighting when the monsters came. Ayaka scolded him fiercely for being so strong, yet failing to protect his comrades, especially since both newcomers trusted Yasuo as their leader. Yasuo snapped back, telling Ayaka to shut up with her class president's scolding act. Yet when Toka was abandoned, Ayaka stood silent. Yasuo claimed this world only rewards the strong and lets the weak perish. In the end, those two newcomers were just casualties of survival of the fittest. After activating the amplification stone, Toka enlisted Piggy Maru to send out the signal of battle. M-Slim responded with a piercing high-frequency sound summoning every monster nearby. Seconds later, the earth trembled beneath them, a sign that the creatures were converging. Toka donned his helmet, bracing for the high-speed chase that awaited as the Black Horse lunged forward. Monsters surged in a relentless tide behind them. Before charging, Toka asked his two companions if they were willing to sacrifice themselves for the group. Both the Black Horse and Piggy Maru nodded, ready to face death alongside him. Without hesitation, Toka teamed up with Slim, preparing for a full-scale counterattack. Meanwhile, Ayaka watched stunned as two class members landed nearby. She recognized them as part of Yasuo's squad, though Yasuo himself had shown a cold heart, believing their deaths were due to their own failure to escape. He even admitted to Ayaka that he felt no urge to fight as the monsters approached. Furious, Ayaka scolded him for his strength wasted in apathy, especially since his comrades had trusted him upon joining. Yasuo snapped back with bitterness, telling Ayaka to shut up, accusing her of always playing the perfect class rep, while ignoring Toka's abandonment without lifting a finger. To Yasuo, this world was brutal. Only the strong survived, the weak perished. In his eyes, the deaths of those two were nothing more than the natural order. Even if those two died, it didn't matter. They seemed to relish Toka's exile to hell, and had often gossiped behind Yasuo's back, Karma, catching up with them. Ayaka was left speechless while Takuto cursed Yasuo's cowardice. Then, Takuto revealed the origin behind each person's fate, drawing his sword and pointing it at Yasuo's face. "I am born a king," he declared, "not a coward like you." Stung by those words, Yasuo summoned a dark power swirling around him, mocking Takuto as the real coward. He started by labeling Ark a mere warrior trying to shake the resolve of those who stood against him. In fact, Yasuo even challenged Takuto to a fight, which left Takuto too scared to respond. After throwing insults at Takuto's face, Yasuo stormed off. Being insulted like that stung Takuto deeply, pushing him to power up and prove he truly was a king among their class. Meanwhile, Ayaka overheard that Kobato hadn't returned yet, filling her with worry that Kobato might have fallen. Meanwhile, Eva decided to defy Toka's orders and head out to help, sensing the overwhelming number of monsters. Toka was barely managing alone, especially with the sleepless nights he'd been pulling lately, using sleep magic to keep the group awake for protection. Eva believed she was the best choice to assist since she could see in the dark and move swiftly. If Toka or the two pets got seriously hurt, Eva could carry them back safely. Toka was the heart of the group. Losing him was unthinkable. At this moment, Sarat admitted she truly loved Toka and was willing to sacrifice her body for him, hoping Eva could help so they could all stay together. Sarat promised to stay behind and protect Lead at any cost. Eva felt reassured and immediately set off. Meanwhile, Toka teamed up with M-Slim and launched their first assault on the monsters. He used his skill to drive them mad, turning them against each other. But these were ultra-strong beasts, so the effect was only temporary. The monsters quickly snapped back into battle mode and resumed chasing Toka. Monsters that got close were paralyzed by Toka's magic, frozen in place for a few seconds. But this skill only delayed them briefly. The intelligent humanoid monsters started guarding their tentacles carefully. The horde closed in on Toka, but luckily, Black Horse and Piggy Maru were still full of energy. Only Toka was hindered by heavy rain, which blurred his vision and dulled his senses. Plus, his fusion skill was draining a huge amount of mana, forcing him to level up quickly to recover and keep fighting. Toka decided to circle back and wipe out the humanoids to gain experience points. He asked his two pets if they were ready to go all out, and when they nodded, Toka felt a surge of happiness to have such loyal teammates. Then, he sprinted around unleashing a barrage of skills, paralyzing, poisoning, blinding the works. His mana was running low and about to hit 0, but Toka pushed on casting spells continuously to clear out the weaker monsters. His goal was to clear the path and prepare for the next big fight. Every attack, every spell was a desperate dance of survival, a testament to his resolve to protect his friends and grow stronger in the face of overwhelming odds. This moment wasn't just about fighting monsters, it was about the unbreakable bond between Toka and his companions, each step forward a spark of hope in a dark world. If you've ever felt powerless, like Toka, remember sometimes the strongest magic is the will to keep moving forward. The humanoid beast was caught in a paralyzing spell, and just as the monster closed in to strike, Toka unleashed his tentacles with fierce magic, making it scream in pain. This truly was the strongest monster, propelling Toka to level up significantly and fully restoring his mana. Fueled by this surge, Toka continued blasting his tentacles outward, wiping out the nearest monsters to soak up experience. As long as his mana held strong, Toka's life remained secure. Now fully charged, he wielded his skills with freedom. But behind him lurked two giant monsters cunning in battle. Every time Toka cast a spell, they'd pile up fallen comrades to shield themselves, using this makeshift armor to dodge his attacks and relentlessly pursue him. With deft agility, Toka leapt off his horse and circled behind them. Then he unleashed a combo of paralysis and fierce magic right into the faces of the two giants, leaving no room for evasion. As they collapsed, the black horse galloped back to Toka's side, ready to press onward. Before him now was a brand new wave of monsters. Driven mad, Toka hurled his tentacles with pinpoint precision at the first line of enemies. Each fallen foe was quickly replaced by another charging forward. But one monster tangled with the black horse's legs, causing Toka to fall from his mount. Now, surrounded by thousands of beasts, both large and small, Toka and his companion Slim fought tirelessly, never ceasing their assault. Images of girls flashed through Toka's mind, fear, whispering that death might come soon. Yet he held firm, determined to slay every single last monster before giving in. Meanwhile, nearby Kabato bravely defeated the monster that had attacked that morning. As she turned to rejoin the group, Eva happened to pass by. Eva approached and saw Kabato looking like a small child. At that moment, a classmate named Isuki charged at Eva with thunder magic. Caught off guard, Eva was stunned by the lightning strike. Isuki mistook Eva for a monster and attacked to protect Kabato. The crackling thunder silenced Eva's voice, yet she remained conscious enough to realize these warriors came from another world just like Toka. Liz watched anxiously, fearing for Toka and Eva's safety, but Serat reassured her that those two were mighty and would surely return. At present, Eva was locked in combat with Isuki, whose battle skills were top-notch. The sudden lightning strike forced Eva onto the defensive. Fortunately, her older sister, Hijiri, arrived, causing Isuki to halt her attack. Hijiri explained that Eva was no monster. Eva's eyes showed a strangely human warmth, and she could communicate, though Isuki's thunder had injured her throat, leaving her speechless so far. The Takao sisters soon apologized to Eva for mistaking her for a foe. Hijiri introduced her group 3 warriors from another world curious about Eva's purpose in the forest. Eva sensed a kindness in these girls similar to Toka's spirit. She revealed she was on a quest to find her master. Hijiri deduced that Eva's master was someone who could survive against humanoid beasts. Eva smiled, insisting her master was far stronger. Those beasts were mere minnows to him. With that, Eva bid the girls farewell and pressed onward. Meanwhile, Toka remained encircled by monsters with no escape. Mana brimming, he fired tentacles in every direction, missing none. Only one giant elephant-like beast remained, but Piggymaru was exhausted. Toka had to personally finish it with paralyzing and venomous spells. Though still fighting Slim could no longer lift a tentacle, forcing Toka to halt their combo so Piggymaru could rest. Even the black horse was nearing its limits, barely clinging to life. After his recent fall, Toka was lucky to suffer only minor wounds. His level had climbed to 2017, but no matter how high he leveled, his health and stamina couldn't fully recover. Nearby, Toka sensed a powerful humanoid beast lurking the final boss, surely watching his battle from afar. Unless he approached, Toka couldn't unleash his skills. Suddenly, the monster lunged at him, intent on tearing him apart. Though the black horse was swift, the beast matched its pace. Every time Toka readied a skill, the monster turned its gaze elsewhere. It even conjured an energy orb that shot deadly beams, forcing the horse to dodge wildly. The attack's wide range injured Toka's arm and struck the black horse, knocking Toka off once more. To defeat this menace, Toka had to call on Piggymaru for backup. The beast began charging massive energy, preparing to send Toka to the afterlife. It launched the orb skyward, firing dazzling beams in every direction. But after a series of explosions, Toka vanished. Only his mask dropped to the ground, accompanied by Slim's cries. The monster attacked the mask, but Toka was nowhere to be found. While the beast was distracted, Toka descended from above, unleashing paralyzing and brutal magic straight to its face, leaving no chance to evade. He had used his mask and Piggymaru's cries as bait. Meanwhile, the black horse tossed Toka skyward, helping him close in effortlessly. After a fierce exchange, the final boss finally fell. Toka exhaled deeply. His health dangerously low, he'd nearly met his end. His level rose to 2019. Paralysis skills evolved and a powerful new ability unlocked, but exhaustion left him unable to test it. Toka apologized to his two loyal pets for making them fight so hard. Intending to return to Surat, he realized his leg was too injured to lift. From the bushes, a new monster stirred. Luckily, Eva appeared just in time, slicing the beast in two. Toka was overjoyed. He truly wanted Eva to rescue him. On the way back, he couldn't help but admire Eva's incredible strength beyond all imagination. Not only did she carry Toka, but she also bore his two pets. Eva recounted meeting the Takao sisters and Kabato, but didn't reveal Toka's name, unsure of their connection. Hearing this, Toka felt reassured, knowing the group of warriors could challenge any obstacles threatening his revenge. From the cave, Surat spotted Eva carrying Toka home. The two girls joyfully ran out to embrace their loved ones. Serat's heart swelled with happiness seeing Toka safe. But Toka wasn't worried for himself, his concern was for his pets. With his health dangerously low, Toka barely escaped death. His level surged to 2019 and his paralysis skill evolved. He also gained a powerful new ability, but lacked strength to test it. Apologizing to his beloved companions for making them fight so hard, he planned to return to Serat's side. But then he realized his leg was injured, too weak to lift. From the bushes came the rustle of another monster. Just as the wolf charged, Eva appeared like a savior, slicing the beast clean in two. Relief flooded Toka's heart. He truly wished for Eva's rescue. On the way back, he had to admit Eva was stronger than he ever imagined. Carrying not only Toka, but also his two companions, Eva recounted how she met the Takao sisters and Kabato. She kept Toka's name secret, unsure of their connection. Hearing this, Toka felt reassured, knowing the band of warriors ahead would be a formidable obstacle to his quest for vengeance. From the cave, Surat saw Eva returning with Toka and broke into joyful run to embrace her loved ones. Surat's heart swelled with happiness that Toka had come back safe. Yet Toka's thoughts weren't on himself but on Surat's care for the companions. That night, Surat had bandaged his wounds with gentle hands. She even skillfully stitched his torn clothes, a testament to her strength beyond the sword. If she ever married, her husband would truly be a king. Noticing Toka's restless sleep, she lent him her soft thigh as a pillow. This time he accepted without hesitation. In that tender moment, Serat shared her heartfelt wish. She hoped Toka wouldn't bear the burden alone. She knew he fought monsters to protect everyone, but sometimes fear gripped her heart. If anything happened to him, she wouldn't know how to carry on. Toka gently stroked her hair, promising that as long as she stood behind him with all her heart, no harm would ever come their way. Serat too dreamed of a future where Toka recalled the crushing days he'd been trampled, broken beyond words, that pain forged the steel in his soul, fueling his strength to survive this strange world. He believed he had the power to protect everyone in their group, yet Serat grasped his hand tightly, urging him, next time hardship strikes, don't bear it alone, tell her. Just say the word, and she'd move mountains to answer his call. Hearing this, Toka felt Serat's dedication like a protective older sister's embrace. Curious, Serat asked his age. Toka revealed he was 17. Serat, though an elf blessed with a long life, was only 19. Feeling she was older, Serat imagined Toka was now her little brother, a thought that warmed her heart. Yet Serat regarded Toka as her king, vowing undying loyalty to the one who ruled her world so utterly. As Serat's words hung in the air, Toka drifted into sleep, utterly drained. Serat chose not to disturb him yet. As she watched his face resting gently on her lap, her heart struggled to stay calm. With his face buried, how could she not be moved? Thankfully, Serat regained her composure and gently shifted Toka aside. But as she stood, she stumbled, nearly crashing into him, revealing that Fate's author had no intention of letting her miss this moment. And so, under the quiet cloak of night, while others slept soundly, Serat pressed a long, lingering kiss onto Toka. Only when the soft drip of water echoed through the cavern did she snap back to reality, bewildered by her own daring. When Toka awoke, he found Serat lying close by, lips still tender and moist, his mind swirling with suspicion about what she might have done in the shadows. Knowing Serat struggled with sleeplessness, Toka soothed her with a lullaby spell. After some thought, he realized Serat had stolen a kiss while he was deep in slumber. His trust in her had been so complete, yet now his first kiss was lost in this quiet, stolen moment. On their journey back, Isuki questioned Kabato why she'd joined Asagi's group. Kabato recalled how Asagi once twisted her mind, leaving her too scared to finish off a monster until Asagi stepped in to help. Though Asagi seemed dangerous, Kabato saw strength and reliability in her, a beacon she needed to grow stronger to protect others. So Kabato stayed with Asagi's group, learning to stand tall. The next morning, Toka's group pressed on toward the cursed witch's lair. Serat still carried the echoes of last night's secret yearning to confess to Toka, but courage eluded her. She promised that, when the time was right, she'd reveal all. Toka, reading between the lines, understood exactly what Serat wished to say. But, with his mission of vengeance unfinished, he knew some words had to wait. The road ahead was long, and their shared journey had only just begun. If you've ever felt the weight of silence between you and someone you trust, remember Serat and Toka's quiet bond, where love tiptoes behind courage, waiting for its moment to bloom. And, if you've ever walked a path fraught with shadows, may their story remind you even the smallest trust can light the darkest night. Thanks for walking this emotional journey with me. She dared not speak her feelings to Ra, so they both decided to play the roles of master and servant. Until the storm passed, only then would they reveal their true hearts. After half a day of trekking, Toka's group finally reached the Witch's Land, a place riddled with magical traps, clear signs that the forbidden witch was lurking nearby. When a trap sprang to life, a colossal stone statue suddenly awakened from its slumber. As the statue moved to attack, Toka swiftly cast a paralysis spell, freezing it mid-step. Not wanting to wage war against the witch, Toka chose to leave the statue intact, a silent guardian left behind. Beyond the rocky field, the group arrived at a withered ancient tree beside which stood an empty house eerily abandoned. While searching the house, Eva discovered a hidden tunnel bustling with golems, silently toiling away, oblivious to Toka's presence. At the tunnel's end was a door sealed by magic. Toka had to pour all his mana just to unlock it, realizing the forbidden witch only wished to meet those truly worthy. Meanwhile, Kabato returned safely, bringing joy to Asagi and class president Ayaka, who breathed a sigh of relief seeing Kabato alive. But Asagi's shadowed expression stirred unease in Ayaka's heart. Hijiri believed the foes she encountered in the forest were the goddess's minions sent to assassinate weak heroes, making her feel the decision to search for Kabato was undeniably right. For if Kabato had fallen, Ayaka's sorrow might have shattered her, twisting her into a force of darkness. After unlocking the door, Toka's group stepped into an endless plain bathed in sunlight and breeze, a realm that felt like another dimension. Before them stood a stone mountain house, and beside it a girl belonging to the Dark Elf tribe. Toka suspected she was the forbidden witch he had tirelessly sought. If rumors held true, she alone could decipher the ancient forbidden magic. Meanwhile, the goddess had commanded all heroes to retreat, preparing for the looming battle against the Demon King. The Dark Elf girl introduced herself as Erica. Erica, the very forbidden witch, whispered about across the lands. Hearing this, Toka felt a surge of satisfaction. His grueling journey had finally borne fruit. He silently sent a message to the goddess. "Prepare yourself, for once I master the forbidden magic. I will reclaim